Yeah, I mean, all you guys can do is create life and stop time. Couldn't you at least, like, teleport the clouds away? This week's cold opening introduced us to our spotlight side character as she watered a room full of flowers. Though for some reason, water doesn't seem to be satisfying that one plant in the corner.
Feed me, Carbon! Feed me!
Can worry about that later. Later, we saw Hazuki arriving at school early to get in some violin practice. However, she wasn't the only early bird, as the flower girl, Marina, was cleaning the desk and leaving some flowers on the teachers as she was a member of the gardening club. The two would grow closer over the next few days as they would chat a little before Hazuki went off to practice. We also learned that she was the type who couldn't play unless she had an audience. Those things better not start telling tales from the Bible. Six Sensei was able to figure out who was leaving her flowers and quietly thanked Marina. Also, hi, plot convenient book reading. Later, while she was taking care of some flowers outside of the school, a wayward soccer ball came to wreck the day. It was kicked by this kid, Kimura, and these three again. Once again, a little subtle correction here. Here, they refer to Doremi as someone who prefers dango over flowers, which is an old Japanese proverb that refers to someone who emphasizes practicality over aesthetic. It's also a very punny name for a certain shoujo manga. But yeah, the Three Stooges here, I refuse to call them by their stupid team name, basically said Doremi was one to talk when it came to flowers. And you three are a bunch of little brats who can't give a sincere apology. God, these guys kind of annoy me in their first appearance, but here, they're outright disgusting. Though at least their toxicity served a narrative purpose, as they tried to get an apology out of Kimura as well. Oh, don't act so tough, kid. We all know you need Deku to protect you. But yeah, I do kind of like the story of this kid caving to peer pressure, as well as likely some envy for what he perceived as favoritism from Seki-sensei, even though we know she would never give Easy extra credit and was just showing her appreciation. Still, for kids like Kimura, they see the glass as being half empty. The next day, Marina didn't come in early as usual, to which Hazuki would later learn that the reason she came in early and left flowers was supposedly just because of her mother's suggestion, basically as a means of raising her daughter's spirits as well as the rest of the class. Again, I get that it would be easy to write her off as just a teacher's pet, especially considering that Marina wasn't an A student or anything. However, her mother tried to give her daughter a glasses half full attitude that she hoped would spread to the other kids. FYI, yes, I just rewatched Groundhog's Day and just found that to be a really good proverb to use. And to be fair, it matches well with this episode's emphasis on the language of flowers. By the way, I wonder if this show had any influence on a certain other flower-themed magical girl anime. Obviously though, the language of flowers didn't connect with everyone, or at least these little brats. Hazuki was able to relate with Marina's situation, as while her violin playing was initially just something her mom talked her into, she had come to legitimately enjoy it like Marina and her morning routine. And I'll admit, it also kind of happened to me when my grandfather convinced me to take up kendo lessons. Granted, I was also kind of relieved when I stopped going and I stopped having so many body aches, but you get the idea. Dodo could also relate with her magical trinkets creation. Jeez, I didn't realize I was watching Bird the Witch. Ironically though, Kimura ended up buying one of Dodo's charms. Granted, a lot of that was thanks to Aiko's salesmanship, and oh god, what even is that face? Aiko, if you want to become a good salesperson, maybe you shouldn't take advice from this guy. Also, I wonder, does this shop run on QR or barcodes? Anyway, the next day, a literal storm was brewing, which put Marina's flowers at risk. Of course, feeling bad for his actions, Kimura tried to protect the flowers, not that he would admit it to Marina. It's not like I tried to hold on this tarp to protect your flowers, baka! Ironically, she would also try to show indifference and left in a huff. Still, Kimura wasn't giving up, though his body was. People get more sick in this show than they do in Healing Good. Hazuki of course felt bad for the situation, with Dodo's charm seemingly not even working. Not sure why it could have been Rei's charm considering who's the focus Ojamajo of this episode. But anyway, the little bespeckled witch tried to do her part and protect the flowers. Now of course full-on weather control was well outside the range for a rank 9 witch. And while I would still argue there might be less broad spells they could use to make the rain stop, I do like that they are showing the limitations of the Ojamajo's powers. Still, Hazuki did come up with a good idea and encased the flowers in a greenhouse that stuck around for all of 3 seconds. Okay, so stakes and miniature greenhouses can't stick around for long, but shapeshifting and giving life to inanimate objects can. Got it. Fortunately, her friends soon arrive, allowing them to cast a magical stage to help protect the flowers. Just ignore the fact that in order to use this stock animation, they had to have the rain stop. I mean, I guess these backgrounds are supposed to represent the rain, but all I'm reminded of is a bunch of Junji Ito stories. Don't read Glyceride unless you really want to lose your appetite for the next few weeks. I will say, I do kind of like the stage's solution to their problem, which was to give each of the flowers a little umbrella. Yes, it's still far less practical than just teleporting the clouds away, but whatever, it's cute, so it gets a pass. Thus, the flowers, specifically Marina's, were protected until the next day. I guess these guys weren't worthy of umbrellas. And sure enough, seeing her flowers blooming healthily reminded Marina that she did genuinely come to like her morning routine even though it wasn't her idea in the first place. Also, while I don't usually talk about this show's insert songs as I find that they're usually played at some inappropriate or forgettable moments, I will say this particular tune about being free to do what you want and keep your friends close was very appropriate for a scene like this. Thus, the episode ended with Marina delivering one of her daisies to a recovering Kimura and the Ojamajo living up to their name and intruding on their friends. Oh well, may as well close things out with a cheesy 80s freeze frame too. This was a really nice character-driven episode. Obviously, there was a lot less magic on display here other than the VeggieTales and the climax. But I certainly don't mind more slice-of-life episodes focused on the school life of the Ojamajo and their friends. In spite of some significant annoyances, I think they did a good job showing how interests can be developed and fostered in spite of the fact that they might not necessarily have been your own originally, and how you shouldn't let others decide them for you. This episode's writer was Reiko Yoshida, who would later go on to becoming the head writer of Kaleidostar and K-On! Thus, she tends to write more character-driven stories like this and the 7th episode, which was good, other than that stupid exam part, which probably was out of her control anyway. But yeah, she seems to like to write more introspective tales where the characters end up examining themselves and what they seek in life. In this case, Marina had the very relatable story of a kid who was talked into something by their parents, but came to like it and made it their own thing. Granted, this did kind of heavily lean in siding with the parents, as I don't think every situation will work out like with Marina and Hazuki, but the idea is to encourage people to think and decide for themselves. Which then brings us to the foil in Kimura, who played along with the stupidity of the Stooges. It was clear that he didn't want to say this, but ended up siding with the group mentality. Ultimately though, he did recognize what he did was wrong, and for it, he was rewarded with a flower that symbolizes youth and love. It was overall a very nice story with Hazuki acting as a strong mediator between the two. Granted, it wasn't perfect, as while they did serve a purpose, I still did find this trio to be unnecessarily annoying. Like, you can just tell these characters were written by adults who think little of kids at times. And I do think there were some superfluous scenes that just didn't flow well, like Kimura buying Dodo's charm, even though this was clearly a Hazuki episode. Still, overall, good stuff with great animation. The rain effects look especially impressive. And it was certainly better than Yoshida's last outing, if only because it did involve a ludicrous exam at the end. It took a little pondering, but for my next Higurashi video, I've decided on a top 13 character list. It should be an interesting one, as I've also decided to include a few lesser known characters from the visual novel adaptations who haven't appeared in any anime adaptation yet. I do hope that they eventually get their time to shine in anime form, but until then, I'll do my part. So look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and jeez, okay. Come on, open. There we go. And of course it would stop as soon as I open it.